I kind of think Brett's wrong. Foot peg weighting matters a ton to your riding, and this is just bad technique. MotoTrek is a great channel, and Brett is a very good presenter. But in their video about foot peg weighting, I think they've missed some very, very important things. Take a look at this clip of him, for example. See that heel and how it's super high? That's not the best for controlling your bike. Let me explain. When we stand up on a motorcycle off-road, it's primarily about controlling the balance of the bike and controlling the balance of yourself. However, the two are independent things. For example, I should never use the bike to balance myself.
To help our balance, our weight should be mostly down through the foot pegs. Downward force on the foot pegs also then allows me to have control of the bike left and right.
Try to think of this bike as a seesaw, where the tires are the bit that the seesaw pivots around, and each foot peg is where you would sit. We make that seesaw move to each side by changing the amount of weight on it. Just like a seesaw, if the weight on both ends is even, the seesaw will be level. Change that slightly and the seesaw leans. Put a large weight and a light weight on the seesaw and it'll lean till something else, probably the ground, stops it. That is the principle behind foot peg weighting. But why does this matter? When I ride this bike around this corner, for it to turn, look at what happens. It leans. This is a compulsory part of the physics of a bike turning with any speed. If we want to turn left, the bike needs some amount of lean angle to the left. The physics of this changes significantly with the change in friction level, with the change in speed, and whether we sit down or stand up. So, before you start typing that comment, keyboard warrior, chill out. We'll get to the point. Now, this is where it gets significantly more complicated. When we ride off-road, we stand up. This helps us control the bike better. It helps us separate our balance from the bike, and it allows us to deal with uneven terrain better. All good things.
So I can make the bike lean to the left by applying my body weight to the left foot peg and releasing some body weight from the right foot peg. A small amount of pressure translates to a small direction change, and a large amount translates to a big direction change.
Next, to keep a constant lean angle, we need some other forces to help us.
If I'm riding fast enough, those forces balance out naturally, and we see this all the time on the road. For example, the faster you go, the more you can lean a bike and it be balanced. Or if we accelerate out of a corner, the bike will stand up.
However, as we slow down, the rules start to change a little bit, and we don't want the seesaw to hit the ground. So we need to do something about it. We need to offset gravity a little bit.
The answer is foot peg pressure. If my seesaw starts to lean slightly too far left, I can counteract gravity with weight applied on the other side. Basically, we're trying to balance that equation. Look at this clip. I'm using the foot pegs to make small adjustments left and right as I ride along the trail. As I'm doing this, I can simply apply pressure, create lean angle, and the bike turns a little. Now, as I turn tighter and the speed decreases, I need counter pressure to balance it out. You can see this because all my weight is on the outside peg. The bit that really matters here is balancing the equation, and we can do that in lots of ways. Now, as a quick side note, this foot peg off the inside thing that I'm doing here, this isn't good technique. It's just to show that equation being balanced through foot peg weighting.
I'd love to hear in the comments what you have learnt or understood or are still confused about with this subject. However, now we should talk about some technique. The goal, once you vaguely understand what's keeping your bike upright, is to translate your body weight into foot peg pressure and keep your balance independent of the bike whilst not doing it in a way that uses a ton of energy. Now, there isn't an exact way to do this. There are lots of different good techniques, but there are more importantly some things that fundamentally stop us achieving those three goals.
I don't think I can cover the precise detail of every element of technique in this short video, but there are some basic things we can learn. Most of these ideas I have outlined in my basic standing position video, so if you want something more detailed, check that out. In short though, the things you want to avoid are lifting your heels, excessive knee bending, and hands behind the handlebars. If my heels lift a lot, it's like I'm standing on tiptoes, and that's really unstable. Heels lower and even down is more stable and balanced, and knees less bent allows more direct weight transfer to the foot pegs. Having our hands on top of the handlebars makes our control more deft, and those three things are more precise, less energy sapping, and more balanced.
And that's why I think foot peg pressure is incredibly important.
If you enjoyed this MiniTip Monday and you want to see more of these, come check out what we've got going on Patreon, and otherwise remember, life's better when you're riding.